Before I start, let me give you the good news that on 13th of this month, February at 11 a.m., you have an Unacademy Judiciary Scholarship Test, and where you can get a lot of scholarships and, of course, very exciting prizes, almost to the tune of 70 lakh rupees in various forms. So please don't forget to appear for this scholarship test on Unacademy on 13th of February, 11 a.m. Needless to say that Unacademy has made a huge name for itself as far as judiciary is concerned. And I can vouch, I've been teaching in Unacademy for last 8 months. I was running my own academy, as a lot of students know. It was one of the most popular academies. But I can vouch that probably Unacademy is doing the best possible for the judiciary aspirants. I've seen that there are regular classes from 9:30 to 7:30. मेरा अपना comprehensive batch है. We are 6 educators. And we are teaching almost all the laws of about 7, 8 states. So we are preparing you almost for about 10 states. We have everyday language classes and everyday general knowledge classes and all the major laws and quite a few local laws. So join this bandwagon of success and try to join the batches. In fact, today only my new batch has started. We have started with the CRPC limitation, contract 2, partnership, SOGA, Muslim law, and limitation. So join as early as possible. This is the best possible opportunity. Also, it is very modestly priced. You can get the whole year subscription for about 37,000, in which you can use my name for a 10% discount. You can use that code, so you get 10% discount there. Also, effectively, it comes to about 35,000 rupees a year. This is almost a throwaway price, and you are getting probably one of the best in the country. So this is a golden opportunity for everybody to join the judiciary ke liye, all the preparation for judiciary. Now, in my previous lectures, we had started an overview of CPC. And while talking about overview of CPC, now, as you all know, most of the students are very scared of CPC. They all feel that CPC is a monster. इतना बड़ा है क्या, कहाँ से order आ गए, कहाँ से rules आ गए, कहाँ sections आ गए. But if we read CPC in a very methodical way, तो फिर CPC बहुत simple है. In fact, simpler than CRPC. I've given you a background a little bit. Uh, I told you how CPC came into existence in 1908, and there have been three major amendments in CPC. 1976, उसमें काफी सारे structural amendments हुए, and then the 1999 and 2002 amendment acts, which were basically to speed up the civil justice system. Yeah, and that is why yes, I'll be using mostly English. Fine, Sparsh. So we saw that in my previous lectures, we have seen that we have three amendments. The 1999 and 2002 Amendment Act were basically aimed to speed up the civil justice system. It came up for consideration in the Salem Advocate Bar Association that I'll be discussing in one of the other lectures. Now, we have to understand CPC in a very organized way. So let's start understanding CPC in an organized way. As I told you, CPC is divided into 11 parts set in 158 sections, and there are 51 orders in Schedule 1, and we have 8 appendices. Now, let me tell you, these 158 sections are basically what we call substantive procedural part, if I'm allowed to use this term. Now, they are basically the substantive part of CPC. Now, the actual procedural part goes into the orders. Now, for example, let's take an example. Suppose I have to send a summon to a defendant. Now, summons to a defendant, we know that they have to be sent. But what is a way of sending a summon? Can the plaintiff take it? Or if the defendant is avoiding the summons, can we paste the summons on a conspicuous place of his house? All these nitty-gritties of procedure are given in orders. Each order deals with one specific matter. And that is why orders are basically pure procedures of the procedure actually which is laid down in the 158 sections. The elaboration of procedures, the nitty-gritty of procedures are given now in the 51 orders and their corresponding rules. Now, India is a diverse country. And since India is a diverse country, in India, the procedure which is to be followed in Jammu and Kashmir may be little different from the procedure followed in Punjab, or maybe little different from what is followed in Kerala, or maybe quite different what is followed in Northeast because of the natural geographical conditions. So, as a result, the rule making power has been given to the high courts. Under sections 121 to 131 of CPC, it is the high courts who can now make rules tailor made as per their needs of their state. As far as good evening, Alok. Now, as far as the sections are concerned, 158, these are to be amended only by the legislature. But the orders and rules can be made by the High Court, as I told you, to suit the conditions of their states. Good evening, Fahim. Now, once we are clear on these aspects, also please remember we want a uniform way of civil justice system in India. That is why in 8 appendices, we have given all types of forms. In what way will a plaint be written? In what way will a WS be written? All these aspects are covered by the 8 appendices, which forms the last part of CPC. So, broadly speaking, I will divide CPC into 4 parts. There are 11 parts containing 158 sections. There is one schedule having 51 orders, and there are 8 appendices containing all the forms. Once we are clear about the structure, I discussed about it in my previous lectures. Good evening, Anita. Now we go on to good evening, Shivani. Now, let's start with the basics. You know, we have a civil right, right of what we call a civil nature. If I was to quote section 9, I have a right of a civil nature. My rights of civil nature are those rights which are given to me by law. For example, by the Contract Act, by the SOGA, by Partnership Act. So whatever rights are given to me, if those are infringed, and there are certain unwritten laws, for example, torts. Now, in torts, you suddenly open the door, you break my nose, it's a tort. I will now naturally, I will sue you, I will claim damages. So many things are not written, and that is why the panorama of civil law is far, far wider than criminal law. In criminal law, each offense is cut and dried. What is an offense? If we go to section 2N of CRPC or General Clauses Act 1897, what is an offense? An offense is something prohibited by law and made punishable by law. So, what is prohibited is told to us by law, and what is going to be the punishment, that also is given to us by law. But not so in civil law. In civil law, it can differ. What is the damages I'm going to get depends on so many aspects. What compensation I'm going to get depends on so many aspects. So that is why, please remember, civil law as compared to criminal law is not definite, and the expanse is too wide, too wide. That is the reason why I'll tell you, in civil law, in section 151 CPC, every civil court has been given an inherent power. Whereas in criminal law, only the honorable high courts have got the inherent power under section 482. Because the reason is that, Alok, I'll come to this point later. Let's concentrate on how CPC is moving. Okay. Uh, Now, when I go to now when we come to how do we enter CPC? Now, please understand this very basic aspect. I have a civil right given to me as per law. Good evening, Mavi. Now, this civil right has been infringed. Now, please remember, I have a civil right that has been infringed by another person. Now, this infringement gives rise to what I call cause of action. So, what is cause of action? That cause for which I can go for action in a court. Parochially speaking, that's how we can say cause of action. So suppose, for example, you have closed my way. You have barred my exit out of my house. Now I can't go to office. I'm thrown out of my office. My wife is on a temporary job, she's thrown out of her job. My children had exams, they were not able to go. So, we are having different causes of actions, different claims are coming up. So, one act may give rise to many claims, right? So, now I have a civil right, you have infringed it. That infringement leads to a cause of action. That action which I am going to do claim where? In a court. So where do I go? I go to a civil court. And that thing is clarified by section 9 that every civil court is empowered to try all suits of a civil nature. Basically speaking, we divide all the rights into two parts, the civil rights and rights given to us by criminal law. So anything which is not criminal in nature is civil. That is how Black's Law Dictionary very simply defines the distinction between the two. Okay. Now, I had a civil right, you infringed it. That infringement led to what I call a cause of action. Now, I want a relief. How will I get a relief? Putting up a claim. So that is why, please remember, the first aspect is I have a civil right, you infringed it, it gave rise to a cause of action. Now, because of that cause of action, I am asking a relief through a claim in the civil court. How will I put up a claim? By instituting a suit. By instituting a suit, how will I institute a suit? I will institute a suit through a plaint. So that we will reach in section 26, order 4. What about the first 25 sections? My first problem is, where do I go? मैं कहाँ जाऊं? Which court do I move to? So the first 25 sections are dealing with only this one question, where do I go? मैं कहाँ जाऊं? Now, when I say where do I go? Yeah, fine. I'll be speaking in English or in English. Okay. अब पहला क्वेश्चन ये उठता है, मैं कहाँ जाऊं, मैं कौन से कोर्ट में जाऊं? सो वेयर डू आई गो? फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन अराइजेस, टेरिटोरियल jurisdiction. Territorial jurisdiction, two parts. Does CPC apply here or not? Suppose it is Nagaland, CPC does not apply there, or Amindivi Islands, CPC does not apply there. So A, पहला क्वेश्चन क्या उठता है, क्या यहां CPC अप्लाई होती है? A. B, does my court have the jurisdiction? Did the cause of action arise in this court's jurisdiction? So, first point, does the court have a territorial jurisdiction? I hope everybody is clear upon the first point. Now, once we are clear, okay, territorial jurisdiction is there. Second point, do I have pecuniary jurisdiction? Now, section 6. जब मैं कहता हूं pecuniary jurisdiction, in criminal law, where do I go? More higher the sentence, higher the punishment, higher the court. करेक्ट? अगर सपोज डेथ पेनल्टी देनी है या मुझे सपोज लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट देनी है, तो मैं कहां जाऊंगा? वे विल आई गो इफ आई हैव टू गिव लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट और डेथ पेनल्टी? सेशन कोर्ट. If there is a less serious offense, I'll go to JMIC, JM first class. If it is a very minor offense, I will go to any magistrate. Class 2, JM 2 can also try it. So in criminal law, it is the gravity of the offense which will determine the court. But what about in civil law? In civil law, it is the valuation of the suit. What is the total remedy which I am asking for? So what do I do? मेरा सूट का वैल्यूएशन क्या है? Suppose I am asking for a compensation of 2 crore rupees. Now the question arises, this lower court, does it have the power of trying a case of 2 crore rupees? Now, so that is why, please remember, pecuniary jurisdiction has been given to every court by the respective states Courts Act. We have the Punjab Courts Act or Delhi Courts, whichever. So each Courts Act will give you your pecuniary jurisdiction. Okay, so pehla point. Now, second thing, I have to value my suit. Who will value my suit? The plaintiff. So the plaintiff जो है वो अपना valuation खुद करता है, because as per the valuation he puts in the stamp. द स्टैम्प जो लगाता है वो एज पर हिज ओन वैल्यूएशन होता है. So that is why, please remember, what will be the standard of valuation? We have the Suits Valuation Act. तो मैं अपने सूट को वैल्यू कैसे करूं? I have a Suits Valuation Act. कितना वैल्यू, कितना, कौन सा कोर्ट कितना ट्राई कर सकता है? As per the Courts Act, every court has been given its pecuniary jurisdiction. So second thing, जब मैं कहता हूं मैं कहां जाऊं, where do I go? First point, territorial jurisdiction. Second point, pecuniary jurisdiction. This court is incompetent to try this suit because it's, suppose my pecuniary jurisdiction is 10 lakhs and a suit comes which is of say 30 lakhs. I can't try it. It has to go to a senior court. So I hope second thing you have understood कि दूसरा point होता है pecuniary jurisdiction. चलो जी, हमारा सेकंड पॉइंट क्लियर हो गया, पेक्यूनियरी जुरिसडिक्शन. थर्ड पॉइंट, सब्जेक्ट मैटर जुरिसडिक्शन. सी, जब मैं कहता हूं सब्जेक्ट मैटर जुरिसडिक्शन, सेक्शन 9, all civil courts are competent to try suits of a civil nature. So please remember, civil nature के जितने भी suits हैं, every civil court is allowed to try it. Naturally, अब क्वेश्चन ये उठता है कि कौन से नहीं है. Now please remember, section 9 has got two parts. All suits of a civil nature except which are expressly or impliedly barred by law. अगर कोई सूट एक्सप्रेसली या impliedly barred है, एक्सप्रेस बार कहां है? Let us see CPC section 4. See, there are local and special laws. Local laws are those laws which only deal with the locality. Special laws are those laws which only deal with a certain subject. Now, sometimes they have their own procedures, right? So, if the special or local law has its own procedure, then since it is dealing with a small matter and it has got its own procedure, we will not allow CPC to override that. So, in other words, any procedure given by a special or local law will override CPC. Section 4. So here is a bar of law, that here is a special law, it has got its own procedure. Sorry, CPC will not apply because it has got its own procedure. A. B. Section 5. When I go to section 5, all revenue matters are outside the purview of CPC. Why are they outside the purview of CPC? You know, we have got entire paraphernalia of revenue courts, right from the beginning, financial commissioner to the tehsildar. So we have got a whole gamut, whole hierarchy of courts. और दूसरा पॉइंट है, रेवेन्यू का रिकॉर्ड कहाँ होता है? डज द कोर्ट हैव रेवेन्यू रिकॉर्ड? के सारा कलेक्टर के ऑफिस में होता है, कलेक्टर के ऑफिस में होता है, तहसीलदार के ऑफिस में होता है, एसडीएम के ऑफिस में होता है. सो वी कांट फ्लिट कि एक पैर हमारा रेवेन्यू के पास है, एक यहाँ है. सो हमने एक काम किया, revenue matters will be dealt with revenue laws and revenue procedures. In other words, section 5 makes it clear that CPC will not apply to revenue matters. I hope everybody is clear till now. Now, there are two types of bars. Now, first we said section 4, जहां पे special या local laws का अपना procedure है, CPC will not apply. Second, where revenue matters come in, CPC will not apply. Now, you know, there are something called small causes courts. Small causes courts are of two types. They were created by the Small Causes Courts Acts. In the beginning, there were presidencies, you know, Bombay, Madras, Calcutta. So they had their own presidencies, small causes courts. As the name says, small causes courts deal with very small matters, छोटे matters. उनका procedure भी छोटा है. Their subject matter is also very less. So since their subject matter is very small and their procedure is also very small, we need not apply the elaborate procedure of CPC. So there are two types of small causes courts. A, presidency small causes courts and provinces small causes courts. Both were created by specific statutes. Now, Section 7 and Section 8 very clearly say that very few sections of and few rule orders of CPC will apply to small causes courts. So, as a result, there is a bar on most of the CPC on small causes courts in presidencies and provinces. Section 7 and 8 lay down this bar of CPC, of most of the CPC. Only few sections are applicable. Similarly, when we go to the corresponding orders, Order 50 and Order 51, those rules are not applicable. वो रूल्स जो हमारे शेड्यूल 1 में दिए गए हैं वो कौन से एप्लीकेबल हैं और कौन से एप्लीकेबल नहीं है. Order 50, Order 51. So when I say Section 9, all civil courts are competent to try every suit of a civil nature except those which are expressly or impliedly barred by law. What are express bars? Section 4. All special and local laws which have their own procedures, CPC will not apply. Section 5. All revenue matters, they will be governed by their own procedures, CPC will not apply. Small causes courts, presidencies, or provinces are governed by their own specific procedures, hence, most of CPC will not apply. Similarly, not only the sections will not apply, the orders and rules will not apply, or very few will apply. This is clarified by corresponding Order 50, the last two orders, 50 and 51. Now, there are also bars to the same suit. When I say bars to the same suit, which means that once a suit is there, what are the bars? Now, let's take those three sections. A suit is already in progress. The defendant has the plaintiff has already put in a suit and the suit is already going. एक कोर्ट में चल रहा है अभी. Now, since the matter is already at sub judice, तो अब हम दूसरा सूट नहीं डाल सकते. So Section 10. So when there is res sub judice, we are not allowed to put up another suit or try another suit. Second, res judicata. The matter has already been decided finally between the same parties. So now res judicata applies, fresh suit cannot be put up. Third, there are certain bars given by the orders and rules of CPC. For example, Order 2, Rule 2. So those bars, if they apply, you can't institute a fresh suit. So please remember, I am talking about the bars to CPC. Express bars in CPC, Section 4, Section 5, Section 7, Section 8, read with Order 50 and 51. Bars to the same suit, Section 10, res sub judice, Section 11, res judicata, and bars by CPC orders and rules, Section 12. Now, there is another aspect of jurisdiction, which is what is the subject matter. Now, if the subject matter is immovable property, naturally, जहां पे immovable property होती है वहीं पे केस डाला जाता है, right? Because naturally आप property तो उठा के नहीं ले जा सकते immovable. So as a general rule, जहां पे immovable property होती है वहीं पे केस डाला जाता है. And that is why we have a similar reflection in section 16, 17, 18 कि जहां पे immovable property होगी सूट वहीं डाला जाएगा. जहां मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी होगी वहां पे जहां पे कॉज ऑफ एक्शन हुआ है वहां होगा. या अगर पर्सन है, सपोज इट कंसर्न्स अ पर्सन, वेयर एवर द कॉज ऑफ एक्शन हैपेंड विद द पर्सन, वहां डाला जाएगा सूट. नाउ many places CPC has given choice to the plaintiff. For example, my property is situated at X place, but the defendant is at some far off place and he is not coming, or the property is under the control of the defendant. So naturally, and the defendant is not available in the jurisdiction, he lives somewhere else. So now the plaintiff has been given a choice in section 16 that he can put up the suit either where the immovable property is or where the defendant lives, right? So now if I'm going to put up there, in many cases the plaintiff has been given the choice. Please remember, the plaintiff is the captain of the ship. His right has been infringed, उसका right खराब हुआ है, इसीलिए उसको हम पूरा, he is called dominus litis, उसको पूरा right है कि वो डाले. पर ये भी तो हो सकता है ना, अगर मेरे पास choice है तो मैं जान के डिफेंडेंट को तंग करने के लिए आई इंस्टीट्यूट अ सूट जहां डिफेंडेंट को मैक्सिमम तंग करूं, सो दैट आई हरास द डिफेंडेंट. दैट इज व्हाई इफ देयर इज एनी ऑब्जेक्शन, ऑब्जेक्शन कहां होगा? जहां पे चॉइस है. सो इफ द प्लेंटिव हैज अ चॉइस to institute the suit in place X or place Y, and by putting up the suit in place Y, I'm harassing the defendant. The defendant also has a right to be heard. It is not that we have condemned the defendant just because he happens to be a defendant. The principles of natural justice have to be followed. So that is why the last 21 to 25 sections deal with objections. So if the defendant puts up an objection, sir, he's put up, उसने जान के वहां सूट डाला है ताकि मुझे तंग करे, तो सर प्लीज उसको ठीक करो. So objections to jurisdiction are covered by sections 21 to 25. Now one last part is left, which is foreign judgments. You know what is the jurisdiction of a foreign judgment? Please remember, we are governed by committee of courts, the international law principle of committee of courts. When I say committee of courts, it means that if you want to respect my decision, then you will have to respect my decision. So suppose if country A passes a judgment, I would like that my judgment should be executed in your country. Similarly, your judgment we will execute in our country. It is एक हाथ ले एक हाथ दे वाला system है. So now, based on this, we have section 13. So what is section 13? Section 13 says that if any suit, any order, judgment or decree is given by a foreign court, it can be executed in India. But then chances are there that के जो फॉरेन कोर्ट है, it may have flouted many principles of natural justice, गड़बड़ की हो. So that is why we will hear those. अगर कोई ऐसी प्रॉब्लम है, पार्टी कहती है सर मेरी सुनवाई नहीं हुई या कोर्ट ने गलत डिसीजन जान के दिया है, सो सब्जेक्ट टू द कंडीशंस लेड डाउन इन सेक्शन 13 कि अगर ये प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उन पे सुनवाई करेंगे, अगर वो मामला नहीं है तो वी विल सेंड इट फॉर एग्जीक्यूशन. So that is why, please remember, foreign judgments can be executed in India provided they do not infringe any of the clauses laid down in section 13. तो जहां पे सेक्शन 13 का कोई क्लॉज इन्फ्रिंज नहीं हुआ, वहां कोर्ट सीधा एग्जीक्यूशन के लिए डाल देगा. Now also please remember, the committee of courts principle is reflected in a presumption. We presume कि जितने भी फॉरेन कोर्ट्स के जजमेंट्स हैं वो प्रॉपर कोर्ट ने दिए हैं. They have been given by a proper court and they have been given after application of mind and as per law. This presumption is a presumption of law given in section 14. तो सेक्शन 13 में हम कोई भी फॉरेन जजमेंट को एग्जीक्यूशन में डाल सकते हैं. प्रिजम्पशन ये है कि सारे फॉरेन जजमेंट्स ठीक ठाक हैं, एज पर लॉ हैं. Also, there is another section to be read with 13 and 14, section 44A. Now, in this section, what happens is कई कंट्रीज के साथ हमारा रेसिप्रोकल रिलेशनशिप है. When I say reciprocal relationship है, we have very good relations with them. Moment we send a judgment, they immediately execute it. They will not hear anything. They will just straight away execute. Similarly, in a reciprocal relationship, you send your judgments to us, we will also execute it directly. So where we have reciprocal relationships, we will go for direct execution of the judgment or decree of a foreign court. So please remember, there are 3 sections on foreign courts, on foreign judgments. Section 13, 14, read with wherever we have reciprocal relationships under section 44A. So that means we have just covered the entire 25 sections. Section 1, territorial jurisdiction. Section 2, definitions. Section 3, what is the hierarchy of courts, subordination of courts. Section 4, it won't apply. Bars to CPC on special and local laws. Section 5, it won't apply to revenue proceedings. Section 6, pecuniary jurisdiction. Section 7 and 8, small causes courts, read with order 50 and 51. Then subject matter jurisdiction, section 9. Then bars to the same suit, section 10, res sub judice, section 11, res judicata, and bars by CPC, section 12. Foreign judgments, section 13, section 14, read with 44A. Then place of suing, all suits must be put up at the lowest civil court, section 15. Immovable property के सारे मामले, section 16, 16, 17, 18. Movable property and persons का compensation का वगैरह का jurisdiction कहाँ होगा, section 19. Then objections to jurisdiction, sections 21 to 25. Is everybody clear? Is it first 25 sections we have just rattled off in half an hour? I hope you have been able to understand. I think we run out of time. It's 30 minutes class only. So next time, I will now take up the orders. We'll now do, in my next class, we'll cover up all the orders in one go. Okay. So thank you all. Good evening, everybody. Nitesh, Riku, everybody. And I hope you have been able to make the first 25 sections are clear, how we interlink and how we study these. Thank you all. God bless you. Bye-bye. We'll see you next Wednesday, same time.